All right, let's talk a little Alabama Crimson Tide. We got 2 top 100 recruits making their decision tomorrow. That'll be Thursday, depending on when you're watching this. Tight end Mack Sutter and running back Xavier Crowwell. Chad, could Bama land them both?
It's lining up with what could be potentially a great day in Tuscaloosa, a.k.a. T-Town, for those that follow the Alabama Crimson Tide. We'll start with the in-state running back. Obviously, he's an elite player, had all the offers from top programs in the country, reclassified from 2027 to 2026, and has been really Bama's guy. I would say #1 running back target this cycle. Xavier Crowwell goes by EJ, and from Jackson, Alabama, state championship team a year ago, has been to Alabama numerous times, has real deep, genuine relationships there with the people in Tuscaloosa. It starts with Robert Gillespie, Coach G, super close to Crowell. And look, I just think Alabama, everybody's taking their shot, from Florida State to Georgia to Texas to Auburn. Other schools tried to get him on campus, tried to become a factor, but the consistent on my end has been Alabama's going to be tough to beat. I've heard nothing different leading up to this decision, and I like where Alabama sits. Going over to Mack Sutter, an NFL legacy guy. His dad played at Northwestern. He's from up in the Midwest. And, obviously Illinois has been pushing hard here late, trying to convince him to stay closer to home in Champaign. Ole Miss, another SEC program. But talking to Mack and covering his recruitment, over the last year to year and a half, one thing's been consistent with me is that he loves SEC football. And that starts no bigger than Alabama, their tradition, their history, their championship program, their production, how they use the tight end. He has a great connection with Brian Ellis, a tight ends coach in Tuscaloosa. So right now, just a day or so out, everything's lining up, in the right way for Alabama fans to get good news from Mack Sutter. Again, Illinois is pushing. They won't give up. Ole Miss has been a school to watch, but right now nothing's changed the pulse on my end from Alabama setting the pace here.
All right, more in-state 5-stars I want to talk about. We got Cedarian Morgan coming off the board July 2nd. And then also we have Tank Jones, and he's been around. I don't know exactly when Tank Jones plans to make a decision, but where do you see Alabama with these 2 elite in-state 5-stars?
Yeah, I think they're in a good spot. I'd say a little bit better in my eyes for Cedarian Morgan than Tank Jones. Not that they're in a bad spot for Tank Jones, but I think a little bit better, maybe a little bit more separation from them and everybody else with Morgan. I think Florida's still the biggest competition for Morgan. Auburn's tried to make a move, another in-state school there. Obviously, Georgia got an OV as well. But look, he grew up a Bama fan. His family likes Alabama. He's been there a lot. He likes Kalen DeBoer, the culture around. I mean, how all the recruits are so interactive on these visits. And one key one for a guy like Morgan is Ryan Williams, who's been front and center every official visit. He's been around every top recruit, telling them what Alabama's like, what he got to do last year as a true freshman. If you didn't know, he was 17 years old last year too, as well as a freshman in Alabama doing what he did. I just think too many things are in favor for Alabama for me to kind of shape it, go in a different direction. I think Bama's in for some good news here unless something major changes in the final hours. With Tank Jones, this one to me, I think still feels like Alabama's to lose, but I think it's gotten a little bit tighter than what we thought it would be if you go back 6 months or a year ago, to where, again, like Morgan, Tank was a big Alabama fan growing up. He's been there a dozen or more times in Tuscaloosa. He likes the people in the program, the people in the building, but he's made multiple trips to Aggieland at Texas A&M, multiple trips to the Pacific Northwest, University of Oregon. He's been down to Miami a couple of times, and all of those schools have given him something to think about. I'm hearing a little bit more about Texas A&M and Oregon than I am with Miami, but they're not giving up either. But I still like Alabama's position. There's no commitment date set. We think it'll happen sometime in July based on what we're hearing. We like Alabama as the lead school, but there's others to watch very closely as well in that decision.
Yeah, and it just feels like this summer rain at Alabama is about to begin. I mean, you got Crowell, you got Sedarian Morgan, also trending for Jaira Edwards. Is this Kalen DeBoer? Do you think that Kalen DeBoer could legitimately make a run at a top 3 class, maybe number 1 class this cycle?
Yeah, it starts with the guys, Josh, that we just talked about. To me, everything rests on the success in their home state with those three guys we just talked about, starting with Crowell, then Morgan, then Tank Jones. If they go 3 for 3 there, they could be on their way to ascending up the team rankings this summer. And obviously, you mentioned a guy like Jaira Edwards, an elite safety who had multiple programs, national powers, knocking at his door, Georgia, Texas A&M, Oregon, top programs across the country were trying to get Jaira Edwards. We like where Alabama sits. He took that OV to Alabama and really kind of shut his recruitment down without making that announcement of a commitment. We like where Alabama sits after that visit. He was supposed to be in Oregon that next week, never took that trip. Tuscaloosa has been a place he's been a few times. He has good connections there. He likes how they play freshmen in the secondary. That appeals to him. So look, Bama can be definitely on their way to another top-ranked class if everything falls the way it should. And again, it starts, we like where they're at for Edwards, a top guy up in Baltimore. But to me, a lot hinges on what happens with those in-state kids, Crowell, Morgan, and Jones.
Bama fans, talk to Chad and I. How are we feeling right now about this 2026 class? And how do you feel about these 5 stars? Let us know. Comment section below.